Okay. Senate Education Committee back after a short break. We're picking up. We have another witness at 3:30. In the meantime, we're going to be working down our budget letter. Our next topic is Building Bright Futures. The request that came into us for the 798-707, it represents level funding and is consistent with the governor's recommendation. I'm medium low.
I mean,
Are you,
I thought you
are
were
you advocating like
bringing up that question.
a reduction really, or what?
No, I'm not advocating anything.
Well, they said medium low.
No, I said I'm medium low.
so
Or high medium low, is it
Oh,
high medium?
that's what I
low?
heard. I'm medium. low. I'm like, well, I'm medium.
What, where are we building right futures?
Yeah, Building Bright
Okay.
Futures.
Well, the 798 was in the governor's
Yeah.
recommend,
Yeah.
and it was in the House.
Actually, I think so. Let's make sure that's true.
So I,
Is that true? Let's find it. That's Building Bright Futures. Yes, level funded, no change to governor's recommended, and as passed by House.
Yeah.
I'm medium low.
Hi.
Okay.
And
Oh, I thought you were up.
So I fully respect what they do, what the organization does. And I would give it a high medium. But I just wanted to comment. I do find it kind of odd that we have these outside entities. We have AOE, we have State Board of Education, we have Building Bright Futures. It just seems like a weird confluence of decision makers and advisors, and I'll leave it at that. I fully respect what they do. I think we need that type of input, but I'm not sure why they're not like, why they're not embedded into the State Board of Education or something to that effect. But I'll leave it at that because I don't know enough to really, I'm not trying to criticize. I just don't understand the whole structure. So many people bumping into each other. When it comes to policy recommendations.
That's a, yeah, there's a discussion there. Yeah, okay. So, I think from the committee's perspective, it's
Mostly high, but did you see?
I was
fine. But, yeah,
Good afford.
and one medium high.
Medium
What did you say?
I said,
Oh, you said medium. Okay. So one medium high.
Medium well.
One medium. Oh, I got it. Okay, I kind of got it. Okay. Advanced Vermont, $600,000 request. I believe the House put it in for only two.
2 through Department of Labor.
So level fund. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. So Advanced Vermont,
6 is essentially they're asked to keep doing all of the work they're doing.
thought it was to expand.
What were they funded at last year?
It was between 2 and 3.
was it that high? Advanced Vermont, that's the one that has the website, go to drive the people. I didn't think it was that high.
Oh, it was at least that much. I thought maybe they even had more than that.
1 year they had more.
He's out in the hallway, he's really.
Oh,
Is he?
Yeah, he was.
He was in here for a little while.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
They have been in here faithfully every
He's
day.
right- he's right there.
And
Right.
I mean, we got the presentation already.
Right.
I think it was just a question about last year.
The appropriation.
I don't know. For my part, I'm a,
Here he comes.
okay.
Well, sorry, you're trying to keep an eye on.
So, yeah, just for a second. Yeah, just for a quick fill in the blank. Yeah. Just so for the record,
Tom Cheney advanced
and just remind us what your funding has been the last couple of years.
from you all.
Yeah, well, total,
Total? Okay.
both actually.
So our annual budget is in the neighborhood of say $350,000 to $400,000 a year typically. And it comes from a variety of sources. This past year, you all appropriated $50,000. The year before was zero. We were okay. We didn't ask for funds. The prior year was 350. The prior year was 150. The year before that was 350. So there's been a little bit of back and forth. We have had in those years, we have a combination of a federally congressionally directed spending the last 2 years, so this past year and this year, which is running out, and that funds graduate from the plan. And then we have philanthropic dollars, which vary a little bit from year to year, but not, let's call it maybe a quarter of the budget or a little less. And then and then we had for a number of years a grant or a contract actually through Higher Ability Vermont to support My Future VT, which was the $200,000 or so $1,000.
So the federal money has been in what amounts for the last 3 years?
So it was a just under $300,000 allocations spread over 2 years.
This is the second year of that.
It's the second year, so those funds go.
You had 150 for the legislature last year.
Yeah.
Plus 100.
Plus the 150
Plus
and then some philanthropic funds.
So you're up around 350, 400.
Yeah.
Okay, and just give us a quick reminder why the request for up to 600.
So to do both those programs well, it requires a staff of at least 4 folks. It's really is a human enterprise here, and that takes about $600,000 between those 4 folks. The cost for maintaining the My Future VT platform, other costs associated with running an organization. But the private bulk of those costs are those people to do the work. And what we're finding, we're talking about how many people are utilizing My Future VT as an example, is that the best way to drive utilization is kind of a sales approach, right? You need people on the ground to do that work, to make those connections to schools, organizations, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of miles on the road. And we have yet to be able to actually fully devote our energy to that kind of sales pitch. How can we help you graduate with a plan is something we have not asked you for funds for. So that is why it feels like there's an additional request, and that is to fill those dollars that we're missing from the federal congressionally directed spending, which helped start the program, helped us get a proof of concept, and now we're coming to you to say we have high demand for that program. We have great partnerships with key folks across the state, including state government, who want it to succeed. And what we need for that is people to also be able to do that work, because that is also intensive in schools, providing professional development and helping to implement and build capacity for career education planning in schools so that it is a routine part of a school day, a child's day, as well as outside in the community, working with employers and other organizations and parents.
I would just say this, if we were like thinking about it as like a startup that the state supported from its inception because we saw a gap. The proof of concept is there. This is work that no one else is frankly doing. I'm just not going to say doing well. Like, I wish there were other people doing this work. They are not on any statewide scale. And now it's about scaling. Now it's about, you need some time to actually fundraise. It's hard to fundraise more than $100,000 if you're on the road, sort of selling the product. And I think it's a catalytic moment for this program where we either give it a chance at success or build it 2 years all over again.
So I agree with you. I support the program, but I don't think we should leave that your conversation on the table as it was and not recognize we've got a small army of high school counselors out there and other career counselors who are trying to do many of the same things in a different format. We should respect.
I hope that did, because I'm statewide, like working with them. I mean, really, it's like keeping them from just looking through a straw or whatever you said, because first of all, we've asked many other entities to build a website like this and have spent lots of money on that. And this is the proof of concept is actually a actual product, like a tangible product that has thousands of users that we have been asking for a long time.
I think the bridge and what I'm hearing here is, I think the reality is high school counselors rely on them.
Yes. And
They come to rely on it.
and with this graduate with a plan work, they are like really excited to bring our expertise and our capabilities to help them build it into the school day, because in many cases they feel taxed. And they would love some additional help and resources, not only for them to utilize with students or to help them with the programming they're doing, but so that they can help ensure that they're not the only people thinking about this, and that their faculty and the staff in the school are well trained, understand their role, and can help build that capacity.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I support it as a high, but I also support the dividing the amount, half the Department of Labor and half to the Agency of Education. It's just a different perspective.
Mhm. That's more of what should happen. I mean, we sit on the two committees where, and Tom's been with me through all these meetings where it's like, this shouldn't be that hard to figure out how labor and education work better together. And instead, there are a lot of places where we're moving backwards, as Thomas has pointed out, with the fewer students are graduating with a plan. What's happening?
You're not under, you're separate, you're your own nonprofit.
For our own nonprofit.
Work with both the AOE and work perfectly.
Yeah, and in this past year, so prior, BSAC was our fiscal agent. They fund that, so we're not passing through them anymore, but it has been the Department of Labor. Ideally, we would have one contract with the state, but I understand, the reasons why you suggest that. With Graduating with a Plan, we have a steering committee of 17 people, which includes leadership from both the Agency of Education and the Department of Labor. So they are connected with us in both ways, and we're talking.
Okay, so
High.
high, so
High.
1,000 high.
Just like a good dive, like a splash dive.
Friday.
Unfortunately, that doesn't mean much.
He has worked so hard for these hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some people haven't even come in about billions of dollars.
You're all answered the question.
I know, right? No, we'll get there. We'll get there.
So I see,
Then I will.
I see that we have,
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
have a good week.
Elizabeth Chance, Kepler, Flock with us.
I think you can go safely. I don't think it'll come back on.
Thanks. So I see that we have the Chancellor with us. She is ready to go back on. And, okay. Good afternoon.
Hello.
So for the record,
For the record, I am Beth Mauk. I'm the Chancellor of the Vermont State Colleges System.
okay. So we had one thing we wanted to talk with you about in particular, which is the Higher Education Trust Fund. And we have the request from the suggestion from the Fleur Foundation that we understand how the trust fund works. We've learned about the kind of mechanics, how it gets funded, how it goes up and down, et cetera. But the question in front of us is the language question about 3 versus 4 recipients. And so we're trying to move. So we heard from the Fleur Foundation, we heard from PSAC yesterday, and Tom said several times you need to hear from the state colleges. So we're trying to, I think we all, as a committee, we have, like I said, we have a handle on how it works, and I think a bit of a handle on where the most students are who might be recipients and et cetera. And yet at the same time, they're all Vermonters, no matter where you are. So it's kind of I think we're trying to figure out the path forward, but just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. And I do appreciate this opportunity. And I do just want to start by saying I just want to thank you for looking for ways to increase support for Vermonters who want to attend the Vermont State Colleges System, and that really touches me in my heart. And I do appreciate you asking me to share my perspective on the Higher Ed Trust Fund. And let me just start by saying that I will always support a decision that brings more resources to our students who, as you know from my recent testimony, are overwhelmingly Vermonters. And I also want to recognize the work being done in partnership with the McClure Foundation. Their support of initiatives like the Free Degree Promise at the Community College of Vermont and the Registered Teacher Apprenticeship Program with Vermont State University has been meaningful to us and our students. These types of partnerships are incredibly important. They allow us to expand access and respond to the needs of the state, and I appreciate their continued partnership. Since this has come up, I have taken a closer look at the proposal to add another designee to the Higher Ed Trust Fund. And I also have gone back and I reviewed the fund again in light of this proposal, and I listened carefully to the testimony. And I've spoken with our board leadership to make sure that I'm thinking about this in the right way for us as a system as a whole. My perspective is as the chancellor of this system and how we ensure that the system is working together for Vermont. And I just want to remind us that the system today is really different than when the Higher Ed Trust Fund was created. We've gone from 5 separate institutions to 2, Vermont State University and the Community College of Vermont. But we operate as one system. And that's important because our funding structures need to reflect that reality. Today, Vermont State Colleges System is a designee for the Higher Ed Trust Fund funds, and they are distributed across our 2 institutions, the Community College of Vermont and Vermont State University. Currently, and I did pull numbers from the last 3 years, Vermont State University has received roughly 60% of the funds in the last 3 years, and CCV has received roughly about 40% of those funds each year. And that distribution is driven by our enrollments, our program costs, and financial needs of our students. And it does change from year to year. So it's been roughly 60 and 40, but the numbers do fluctuate up and down. And again, I just want to say that I will always want more resources for our system. But as a chancellor, and after talking this through with our board leadership, the question we keep coming back to is this: does adding CCV as a separate designee move us further away from the work that we've been doing to get together as one system? Does setting a fixed spending split between institutions undermine the progress that we're trying to make? And maybe most importantly, does it limit our ability to continue distributing these funds based on student demand, program costs, and need as those needs change over time? Now, how significant is that risk? I don't know, but I think this is an important consideration. And, you know, I also have been thinking a lot about this. And if your goal is to increase support for CCV students, I certainly am 100% supportive of that. But I would say that the most effective way to do that then would be to direct those funds to the system rather than splitting them by institution, and allow them to continue to be distributed where we find the need is greatest. And I would just like to end by saying that, you know, changing the Higher Ed Trust Fund policy is a policy decision for you to make. And I just want to assure you that we are all here with the same goal to support Vermont students. And again, I'm so happy for all the work we've been able to do together. And I do appreciate this opportunity to talk to you about this today. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Senator Shea.
Thank you. Just thank you for being here. Quick question. Can you briefly describe what the fund is used for?
Oh, so for us, we are using it for students who have a demonstrated financial need. So in collaboration with VSAC, our financial aid offices, both those at CCV and VTSU, yearly as our students come in and they have financial needs, we take that information and we use that to distribute those funds once other funds have been used. So it's just a funding formula that we use. And the 60-40 split is really showing you that as we have done this basically on a financial need basis, it's showing that there is for us a greater need, proportionally 60% to Vermont State and 40% to the Community College of Vermont.
So it's fair to say that historically this fund has been used for to support low-income students.
Or yes, or students with a financial need, yes.
Thank you. I have a question for the chair. Are we, I mean, I know we're supposed to have this done today, but shouldn't we also hear from CCV if they even?
Well, anyway, we are.
Yeah, I am CCV, I guess.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part, but I was, yeah.
Senator Weeks.
If I could, so just to kind of paraphrase, I think the recommendation was that the higher ed fund be split 4 ways, 1/4 to UVM, 1/4 to BTU.
Yes.
Is it BTS? Because the CCB is for BTS.
Well,
BTS.
Okay, proposal was 1/4 to UVM, 1/4 to BSAC, 1/4 to the one half of the state college system, and then the other half to the other half, which is the community college.
Okay, that's the proposal.
Quarter.
That's the language that's on the table. But what I think the chancellor just outlined was a recommendation to take BTSU, CCV together as 50% and allow them to distinguish where that funding is channeled based on their own internal needs. And then leave VSAC with 25% and leave UVM with 25%. Is that a correct paraphrase?
If you were going to, want to raise the amount of funds that you are giving to Vermont State College's students, I will never say no to money for our students. And yes, that would be my recommendation.
Interesting. That kind of begs, so then the question is, do UVM and VSAC have reason to specifically oppose that?
Yeah, because
And
they'd be getting 25% instead of 33%.
Right, so they were, if they both come in and said we oppose that. essentially.
UVM, we couldn't get into that.
Okay, so.
So does VSAC use all their money in Vermont?
They do, and
No.
That's just, but it's Vermont students. They could be going somewhere.
Yeah, and that's a sore point for some of us,
Or a positive.
depending on your.
So I think that's the question before us, is if you accept,
Well, if it's Vermont money, it should stay.
Let's just say this, I mean, UVM, if they get this 15 million, that's more than any of these institutions are gonna get in decades. And I would support this move to recognize that CCV and the state colleges have distinct needs, but at our request, kind of unify. But those are generally gonna be, higher need students who need the support to make it work at all.
just to play it out, UVM would, and exactly both are dealing with that. We're dealing with the Vermont students who need financially as well.
Well, I will say, as a former trustee of UVM, getting $15 million that won't then bear interest for the rest of the group is a pretty big get.
Well, I'm not making my decision based on the 15 million.
I guess I'm factoring that.
Are we talking about changing the language or the 50 million for UVM?
Yeah, we're just talking about changing the language.
I'm just saying it's a good bargain.
So what's people's sense about this? Quarter, 50%, or 1/3. And so that's what.
I don't,
Now we don't have to make a decision on today.
I don't recall the distribution of students that received this aid. I remember there was conversation, but I don't.
It is gonna depend each year, probably.
Well, the number of students at the state colleges, including CCV, Vermonters and Venus, there's a lot more in those two fragments than there are in
Vermonters at UVM.
especially. But UVM would argue, I'm anticipating this, that they're giving financial aid to Vermont kids who need financial aid.
Mhm.
with UVM. So it's all kind of a,
But I mean, and half of their appropriation has always been mentally designated as to give students in Vermont the ability to go to UVM.
And I'd like to ask, move forward,
yeah, go ahead.
your opinion on that.
Rebecca Copan, Book Recommendation. We believe that a split 4 ways approach is sets a really important policy precedent for recognizing independently those four institutions that support Vermonters.
So then it's quarter.
Well, well, that's one possibility.
Okay. Another possibility is quarter.
And status quo.
And it's-
Wait, what? Did you say quarter, did 4 quarters
Yeah, but 50% of it goes.
or
to
quarter
state.
half? Yeah.
we're at-
Where if we do quarter,
Oh, I see. That is the
it
distinction.
names out.
My brain's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I don't know, I think that you said that you might still like to keep it all in one family, but that is still a value to you that you get both quarters ostensibly, like you're still the person receiving all the funds. And, you know, it probably requires that you be more even-handed without putting as many inputs into the calculation, but you're also still getting more money.
Right. And I would also say that it also allows us for fluctuations in enrollment so that, you know, as we are a system, if one of the institutions is growing faster, or if we find that suddenly there's more need in one institution to the other, we can move those resources. It is the power of us being a system as opposed to splitting these and having that hard wall between them.
But you are getting more money. Like you would be getting more money. Which is
Yes,
probably a good recognition that you did absorb 2 systems that both serve different functions.
yes, yes, yes.
So
And
in other
that more money for our students is something that, you know, I will always say yes to. You know, we do have so many Vermonters that are coming that, you know, have a challenge in paying their bills and for college. And so we want to make sure that we are recognizing that always.
Personally, I'd advocate 25%, 50%. Just to carry the conversation up.
The question in my mind is how much do I want to fight about this? Like at 340. Because it could end up getting changed somewhere else. I mean,
But I will say that I'm respectful of the chancellor's position that we shouldn't be micromanaging within the state college system. And just trust that it'll go to the right place.
can I answer? Maybe we know this. Did CCV used to stand alone with the other 3 for certain, like, because there's always been a like UVM and state colleges have to get equalized and VSAC. Was CCV always fighting for its place in the sun? Like it's really never gotten recognized in it as a part of the system that is its own brand and its own
And they're part of
killer
Vermont State
for
College.
higher ed.
Yeah, CCV has always been part of the Vermont State Colleges system since it was established in the early 60s by the legislature.
Right. Because to be fair, like before your time, Beth, Castleton was fighting with Linden, was fighting with, you know, with Johnson, like CCV's always been kind of pushed into the shadows by other fights in higher education. And I mean, I'm a really big proponent of community college. Like, I just think there's a value of saying it's a co-equal partner with the other pillars of higher education.
And I think adding another element gives another avenue that the students might not know, and that clue would open it up for them. So I'm in mindset of student, but it's my thought.
Senator Hershey.
I was actually just going to say if we have to decide on this language today,
Maybe we don't. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
We could push it until.
'cause I don't
Because
think it hurt
the money they need to
to,
know. We're,
I was gonna say, I don't think it hurts to contemplate a little bit further on this and then make a recommendation or language into the bill, but
I think we can,
Because the money's still be there.
We can do that. While we have the chancellor here, were there any lingering questions from the state college's budget?
So, but I just want to make sure that the question we're left with is somewhat semantic, but we're still saying 4 quarters, not 3/3.
Well, we have 3 options.
Are we still contemplating that?
Yeah, because I think we have 2 of the 3 institutions would suggest that we
Right.
leave it alone.
Right.
And then we have, so then the question is, if we were gonna divide it down to quarters, is it 50%? And it's the state colleges. So I'm not opposed to waiting till Tuesday to finish this discussion.
On that.
Because we actually don't, to decide this today, because it's,
The the 1,500,000,
so shifting to the budget.
yeah, would be just to explain that one more time, if you will.
Is that for the micro credentials?
Yes.
Yes, sure. No, thank you. Appreciate an opportunity to talk about that as well. So one of the things that we know, as I mentioned to you, is that our students are older than they used to be, or older than we are usually thinking that they are. And that has meant that we've really got to change the way that we're thinking about delivering on higher education. And one of those is through micro credentials, where students can get come in, get something very quickly, and then go out into the workforce and get an employment increase in funds. And so one of the things we'd like to do with this micro credential funding is to look at ways that we can be partnering with businesses and or other entities to do this and to help us with that apprenticeship piece, because when we are talking about micro credentials, we're typically talking about students at the same time working out in the field. The one example that I gave you last time was actually our registered teacher apprenticeship program that we're working on with the Agency of Education. And we've been working on that, as I mentioned, with the McClure Foundation as well. And for that piece, what we are looking at doing is, first of all, having to totally relook at our curriculum and changing it so that it is, still the same fundamental curriculum, so that the students are still eligible for licensure at the end of it through AOE, but also looking at how we're changing the curriculum, looking at having to have mentor teachers to folks who are working in the schools as they are taking classes. And so this first request for the $1.5 million would really be to help us in getting that curriculum written very quickly, and in also an ability to have teachers who are mentor teachers to folks who are going through this program. And so it would just allow us to get a leg up to start some of these programs. The McClure Foundation and the Department of Labor are both supporting us currently. The Department of Labor is actually helping us to pay for the curriculum to get changed, and the McClure Foundation is working with us to get a project manager, so that as folks are coming in and they are interested in these programs, they have one front door, a person that they can go to on our campuses. And so it really would help us to just jumpstart some of these micro credentials that we are looking to start. Just recently, we did receive $2.5 million from Senator Welch in congressionally directed spending for a composite certificate. That would be more funds that are similar to that, and it's something that we're hoping to partner with Beta on. So we know that these opportunities are coming up, and we would just like an opportunity to be able to really ramp those up and find a lot of, have an ability to create a lot of these, because we know that Vermonters and in Vermont really need these kinds of opportunities in higher ed.
And there was no way to work that in with the current budget. You pulled out a separate line item because you didn't have money elsewhere that you could throw at it.
Yeah, as I said, we have, this is what I would say is an sort of an innovation that we're trying. And so we thought, if there were extra funds, that we would, for an innovation, just try some of these other ones. As I said, we have already partnered with the Department of Labor and McClure Foundation on funding for some of these. It would just be a way for us to jumpstart a few more of them that would be outside of our regular budget.
I kind of just, I mean, it's related, but I was trying to pull up an article. Where are you with trying to build revenue generation opportunities on your campuses, right? Like Johnson has some surplus housing availability. You know, how are you trying to make some money off of the campuses that are left?
Yeah, you just mean the facilities in particular? Is
I
that-
mean,
Or other?
creative ways to have revenue generation. You know, and I've often felt like DOL and some of these beta might be some sources for partnership. I remember it probably wasn't you. So we got a request for like an HVAC program from the state colleges, you know, a couple of years ago. I bet some of the HVAC companies would pay for some of that in the state because they need workers, you know. So how are you kind of trying to fix the supply chain in ways that are fundable beyond government?
Yes, thank you. No, I appreciate that. We have been looking at, I've actually sort of, I have hinted at some of them, but let me even just talk about the auto diesel program, which I know has been in the news lately. We have been looking to move that to a credential of value for our students. We are looking at partnerships with the CTEs, but also regional businesses that might have garage facilities where our students can go in and work for those kinds of things. It will allow us to save funds because right now we have a facility for our auto diesel students in Randolph. And so if we have an ability to work with employers who are looking for auto and diesel mechanics to actually do the practical part of their experience, then that is something that we're looking forward to. Beta, as we're talking to them, we've talked to them about possibly being able to use their facilities for this. Ultimately, some of these registered apprenticeship programs do have a piece in them where the apprentices are paid as they are getting the certifications that they need. So we're looking at that. On the Johnson campus, you're right. So we are looking at shrinking our footprint. As we know, we don't need the buildings that we used to. So, you know, we're in the process of selling the one building on the Johnson campus, which will shrink our footprint, but it will allow for senior housing. We're talking to the Johnson Health Department, Johnson Health Center about moving onto our campus. There are actually
Citizen housing. Do you mean senior? Okay, so I was like, are you just transferring the contract? No. Senior.
Senior, yes, yes. So those are just some of them. We just rented one of the facilities in Linden, but I would say these kinds of innovative pieces are what we're looking at. And then also we are looking, as I've been mentioning, to do a lot with distance education, where we do think that will be a net contributor to Vermont State University, but it will also serve the needs of Vermonters. If we look at the registered teacher apprenticeship program, you know, if we are looking to work with teachers who are teaching in a school district, they can't come during the day, but B, also they probably can't all come at the same time. And so having distance ed programs will allow us to have something that's a net contributor. So getting funds in at the same time, we're helping to get many, many more teachers in the state. So it's all to me, it's like an ecosystem with our buildings, with businesses, with these distance ed, and just moving that forward. And that really becomes the plan for the future for Vermont State University.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This works well. Thank you. So let's, Todd, you had a question?
I was saying,
Oh.
I was waiting.
Okay. Let's skip VSAC for a second, just to move quickly in a couple of things that affected fairly easy. Governor's Institute. The question is, the governors recommend at level funding at 384 or adding 10% as they requested.
Can we rename it from the Governor's Institute if he keeps underfunding it?
You would.
Can we rename it from the Governor's Institute if he keeps underfunding it? I mean, this is a very low amount of money.
So the House just rounded out, the House left it at the governor's recommend. So they're in here. So which do we, if we, let's see how I set it up here?
Yeah.
Let's assume level fund, if the question in front of us was level funding, what our response will all be, that was the only option.
Say aye for level fund.
Hi.
Aye. And
Medium well.
10% increase.
Medium.
I'd say hi because they've been level funded for some.
So is there anything that says medium?
Yeah, we had kind of had a little bit of a mix.
Yeah,
Uh,
we all say hi and low.
Okay, so we're all high. The question we're level funding and we're maybe on medium,
I'd be high.
medium
For
well, or
10%.
medium rare.
It's only another.
I mean,
Not even-
I would love to give them everything, but you know, we also want the letter. I mean, I don't know what the letter is going to look like when it goes to committee, but and I know that individually, we've all said medium, high in different areas. If we send a letter that says all these priorities are all high, how serious is the letter going to be taken? Is my thought.
I thought about that as well.
So it's,
I think what we're really saying is, we're all saying high on level funding. We love the program. There were more money. A little more would be great.
They didn't really say they were underfunded. They just said they hadn't gotten an increase, right?
They are underfunded and I try to find private donors for them. I mean, because everyone loves them, but nobody treats it as their priority.
can we recommend a 5%?
We can do it if we want. But yeah, yes. Or consider inflation at 4%.
So that instead of like $30,000,
So
15.
so you'll give a little more.
Can't we just give up another study somewhere? Give them 30,000.
Give up.
Okay, what do we want to do? We gotta move. You're
Say
suggesting-
high and medium.
But we could cross out the 10 and suggest 4.
I think 5.
Okay,
To keep up somewhat with
Five.
inflation.
with a
Medium rare.
medium rare.
I think it's fine.
Okay,
So many other higher priorities in the grand scheme of state treasury.
okay. I think I got that. I think I have it. Yeah, okay. From the school, early childhood programs.
High and high.
Mhm.
There were a couple questions about this yesterday. I know that you're here.
Yes, Chair. Actually, I would point you to Betsy is on Zoom and she's okay to just speak to why those two programs are different and answer any questions you might have. She runs the Farm to School network.
So did you saw our discussion of yesterday? Seems like longer ago, but it was just yesterday. And you're still on mute. Okay, so,
Yes.
okay, so for the record, you are.
So I am Betsy Rosenbluth. I am the Farm to School Director at Shelburne Farms and representing the Farm to School and Early Childhood Network today. I did not watch, but I got a summary recap of some of the questions, trying to distinguish the local food incentive and the Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program, which I'm happy to fill you in, or if there are other questions, I could try to answer those as well. Okay,
I think those
I
kind
can
of-
dive in.
Okay, thinking, yeah, okay, very, just really high level and quickly, there was some question about whether it's duplicative to other food program for kids and, or it's just kind of touch on that.
Okay, sure. So the local food incentive is administered through the Agency of Education Child Nutrition Program. And that program all of that funding, there's $500,000 in the governor's recommend. And the request for that funding this year exceeded the amount available, but we're still asking for this year for 500,000. That all goes to the school as an incentive to buy local food. That's what it's about. Schools spend between 16 and $20 million a year on food, and the goal was to shift more of that spending to Vermont farmers and Vermont producers. And the incentive has worked as an incentive. So in the state report, the Agency of Education report this year shows that every dollar from the local food incentive grants is translating to $3 of local food spending. So even though they only get reimbursed, they don't really get reimbursed, but they get a grant equivalent to either 15, 20, or 25 cents per lunch. They're spending more than that on local food that goes directly to Vermont farmers and producers. So that is that piece. We have, as an incentive, also doubled local purchasing in schools over the last 3 years. So we're really happy that that legislation is working. It's distinct from the Vermont Agency of Agriculture's Farm to School and Early Childhood grants, which are one-time grants. So the incentive, hopefully, is an ongoing opportunity for schools to maintain and increase their local purchasing. The Agency of Ag grants are really to support schools building the capacity for farm to school. It does fund some technical assistance. And so there are providers that support schools to figure out who are the farmers, where can I get the food, what do I need to have in place, how do I, address menus and things like that, so that they can access that grant that basically goes towards local purchasing in the food directly. So that's the difference. The grants also go towards, connecting students with Vermont agriculture. It could go towards materials and supplies. It could go towards food. It's a smaller amount and is one-time grant. Typically the food is like for a taste test or for a pilot or something that then can lead to a more regular market opportunity for farmers to be selling to those schools. It does cover the cost of an early childhood program. So there is the agency administers a subsidized CSA for early childhood because they are not eligible for the local food incentive, but it's not a huge amount. It's maybe 10% of the grants budget. So the grants budget also, the governor recommended was 500,000, and that's what we are supporting for this year. So let me know if there's more clarification needed. They're really different programs. The food incentive is really directly to getting food to the loading dock into the school and to incentivize, because it's not really reimbursing, but it's incentivizing schools to shift those dollars instead of buying what we found out, you're buying apples from Washington State, even though an orchard might be across the street. You're buying dairy from the Midwest, which is crazy in a dairy state. So how do we incentivize and recognize that, and the ag committees have heard, school nutrition folks have about $1.25 to put food on the plate for lunch. It's even less for breakfast. So there isn't a lot of wiggle room if a local product is a little bit more expensive or takes a little bit more labor to process. And so the incentive is meant to recognize that, not cover that difference. Other states have more of a reimbursement program, but Vermont uses an incentive to motivate the schools to shift their purchasing to be Vermont farmers and producers. And, I will say that about 150 farms in Vermont, we have a list, are selling to schools in early childhood, some just very small amounts out of their farm store, some much more significantly through forward contracts and other mechanisms.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions from anybody?
Hi.
Not a question, but a comment.
Yeah.
you know, I don't like to go against governor's budget recommendations, but in this case, I believe that we live in an environment, we're constantly saturated with budget requests. We've saturated our constituents' ability to pay their taxes. I'm advocating that across the board, we pull back on entitlements so we can refocus money on expenditures that buoy the entire state's economic development, infrastructure, school construction, and housing initiatives. That's why I'm being a bit of a prick about this particular issue. Great program, great intentions, but it's death by 1,000 cuts. And I think that we've lost focus on trying to raise all the boats with a rising tide as opposed to individual boats. And I'll leave it at that. That's my perspective. And I know that's counter to a lot of politician philosophy, but
I heard economic development when I heard the presentation. I heard that some farmers are economic development and they're hanging on by a thread. This introduces kids to a lot of the food around them and families. And we all visited schools. And one of the highlights of all of our visits, I think, was the food. That food was made with love, and a lot of them could speak to the farmers and the butchers where they got the food. That's economic development, and it's also a lot that's intangible.
it's okay. We're gonna walk away with a difference of opinion. That's okay.
Sure.
I respect the program. I respect your opinion. I'm just trying to explain why I have a very, I believe what appears to be a very counter proposal. Opinion.
You see, you got the low one, you've got a high. You have a high outlook.
I was a medium on grants and high on incentive. And I kind of agree. Paying, have to pay for schools to buy cultural foods.
So you're a medium,
Well, medium on the grants and high on the
okay,
incentive.
okay. Let's keep moving.
Thanks, Betsy.
Yeah, thank you. University of Vermont. I believe we have three major questions in front of us. First one is 3% increase in base funding.
Oh, hi, sorry, I'm Jill. UVM. Hi.
3%
Yeah.
medium.
Yeah, I'm a medium. I'm really not an advocate of set percentage increases for any level of government. You know, it's all zero-based budgets, but zero-based budget. Prove what you need. You don't get an increment. Incremental budgeting is so anti, such a negative impression from a business perspective. We just never operate that way. Everyone comes to the table and they prove their value. And I'm not saying UVM hasn't, I'm just saying, so I'm a medium. Well, sure, I got it.
I just argued that 3% is zero based with the inflation we've seen. 3%
No,
does
that's
not mean
nothing, that's
inflation.
not zero-based. Zero-based is they prove why they need state treasury for every program, and it sums up to something. If that legitimately sums up to 3% increase, great. But if it doesn't, that's the type of hard government that needs to be.
Please tell Washington to stop raising our cost.
So it's not agree. Okay. $1 million for 5 years for UVM Cancer Center.
That wasn't, it says of, but I don't know if that means or. I think it says that.
$1 million for 5 years for Cancer Center.
5 million total, really.
No, I know. In the column about the
Oh, you're
recommendation,
over there. Sorry.
it says did not include the 50 million of 1 million cancer. I'm assuming that means for. So I'm assuming the House did not do the 15 million for the cancer
Oh,
center.
okay. So Cancer Center.
I'm a high.
I'm a high.
Yeah, probably lower than that. everything like.
I don't know enough.
Yeah, so
I really, I don't.
we asked, I'm gonna go about.
I think also it's a health and welfare. Like, I think they
I
did
just-
go to health and welfare for the
How do I
presentation.
know?
That's right. They went to health and welfare presentation.
$15 million transfer from the ed fund to support construction of the multi-purpose center.
It's not from the ed fund, is it?
I'm sorry, ed trust fund,
Oh.
the one, education trust fund. Yes.
I'm gonna do a compliment sandwich here. I think UVM's awesome. I keep trying to convince my daughter to put it higher on her list.
Maybe if they had a great exercise facility in their new multi.
I think it's a great place. I love it. I'm glad it's part of Vermont. That being said, I think the 15 million from the higher ed trust fund going to build an arena is absolutely the wrong move. If was an option below, I would check that. I recommend just striking it from this as an option. That being said, I hope they're able to find money elsewhere. I hope that the facility does get built. And I think it would be an economic boom, not just for the region, but also the state. But, you know, we heard earlier that the fund is used for helping low-income students. And to take 15 million to build an arena seems extremely, it seems like a bad idea. So I guess low, unless we've just decided to strike.
Lower the, yes.
So I'm actually a high. But not from the trust.
Yeah,
That's two other points. I think we need it. I think we should figure it out. I think we should find appropriate money, but it's not the ed fund.
If there's general fund money for it, I'm a high as well.
I actually like that language, high, but not from us funding.
Yes.
Yeah, I go with that.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're on high.
I think.
On this investment, we really hear
Maybe
about.
we should become a facility.
It's probably gonna be the Tarrant.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
But they are giving a lot of
Yeah.
money to match
Still
the
not still working.
small amount for
Okay,
the
now, one
state to
thing
finally
down.
have an arena.
the only one left is BSAC. It's page 3. It can't be, it has to be 20, we had this discussion yesterday, I didn't think that 27 million, it can't be 27,000 space. That's gotta be, where is it actually here? Yes, 27 million, yeah. It's base,
Right,
but- so, base funding, 3% increase. I'll start high.
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 What it? Is the rest what they're gonna use that increase for?
I think they're a pretty efficient organization.
Yeah, no doubt. Great organization.
Yeah.
I think they gave more than the 3% increase.
What do you mean you think?
Oh.
The
Governor recommended was 3%. Doesn't say what the House did.
It does. The
Oh,
others.
yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yes, both 3% base. Can we go along with that?
Mm-hmm.
majority rules, I guess you can.
Well, no,
It doesn't matter.
look, okay,
It doesn't matter.
but I'm writing down everybody's saying. I'm writing down.
You have abstained.
I could say yes.
Again, I'm a medium without proof that 3% is this.
So 1, 2, 3, medium and,
Abstain.
okay. Authority to use $400,000 from that base funding for innovative career and college aspirations initiative.
If it's coming out of the base funding, it's kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that we necessarily should be voting on that.
Well, except that what they asked us, they need the authority. So in terms of giving them authority to do it, I'm a high.
Yeah,
That way,
Yeah.
but it's-
I mean, I don't always like doing set aside because I don't think we need to bless
Well, I
that.
think we have to
I
for some
guess we
reason,
do.
because
Okay.
they need the authority. I don't know why, but they do.
Uh-huh. Maybe because they're not giving it for students to go to higher ed, it's aspiring to higher ed.
$84,000 for dual enrollment in college stipend. I can't even imagine that
That's level five. So I'm only looking at the ones that look above and beyond in the gov. On the blue side.
so we're, well, this, I didn't fix the letter on this one, so forget the letter. It's really ABC. The 84,000.
I don't, what's hard for me is I think that's part of something else. I don't know that the House made a decision on the 84th.
What I just, let's see for it. So small. There's
It's small, not a huge fan of the money. It may be sucking away from schools and AP classes right now at the high school level,
I don't.
but I'm not gonna
Well, we
fight
heard
about this.
We have heard that.
Yeah,
Meeting.
yeah. I think some of what we were afraid of 10 years ago when we created dual enrollment is coming true.
So, we're going medium with this one? Yeah, right. 5 million, what, $2,000 increase.
$2 million increase, which the House did put in.
For what program? I didn't.
It says forgivable loan
Oh, forgivable.
to support current demand for program for forgivable loan incentive.
Is this specific? Like, is this the nursing program and the teacher program or? You know, to me, that's high. But it's not, I don't know what the program is.
I could text Tom Little or Giles.
Right, but I think it is just a forgivable loan. I don't think this one is for a specific, I don't think it's,
Text Richie.
$1.5 million for mental health professional loan program. We know we have a little shortage of mental health professionals.
Loan, sort of a loan program?
Yeah.
Yeah, loans.
Okay, so I,
Aye,
I'm assuming, yeah,
Sure. It's not in something. I can't tell if, so the 2 million didn't make it in the govs or the House. The 1.5 didn't make it in and then it's cut off.
okay, it did make it, so we should probably want to just suggest level on that one.
on which,
Well, what, these are all this with my letter I'm tearing down, but it would be, it's like the 5,289,000. And so the question is, do we support the increase or do we support the level funding? Governor and the House level funding.
as level.
Okay.
Which one would you
J.
H.
What?
We went back up to H.
I'm in the spreadsheet.
We're not doing the $2 million. We're not recommending the $2 million.
Okay, it didn't make it into the House.
Yeah, or the budget.
The budget. Yeah.
We're doing, no one. The 2 million. Okay, yes, on,
Are we going read that correct too? Are we nowhere yes or no on the mental health?
yeah, I think we all went, I gave you a high. We're all doing.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Okay.
Okay.
So you didn't know that I said yes. Too late or someone else said yes.
2 million free, $800,000 increases for the Freeman Community Scholarship. And those are day one.
What does that do again?
It, yes, I forget the range. Do you happen to know?
Do you want to speak? About
Yes,
Freedom
Freedom and this is Rebecca Ramos with the Vermont State College System. Freedom and Unity is for students that are, this one in particular, so this increase coming from the House is for students under $80,000 a year.
And otherwise it's 60,000.
No, this
This
is,
is a gap.
this
right?
goes to the graph,
Yeah.
yep, from last year.
So without it, you're only able to bump it down to 60,000 or less, right? And this allows,
65, yes, I think it ended up being 65.
it, this gets it up 65, okay, this gets it up to 80.
Yes,
In a way is what we're doing, right?
yes.
Um, Aye.
Yes.
I'm gonna caveat this. So if, and this is no surprise, if the freedom and unity scholarships were coupled with commitments, like remaining in the state commitments and programs, guidelines that were focused on Vermont's labor needs, I'd be high. But without that, I'm low. That's just how I feel.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put this together and I'll send it to people over the weekend. And you can repeat that. If I got something wrong, try to capture where we were. But sometimes it's hard to capture. We'll do that. Okay. With that, so we have to, Tuesday, we have to go back and make a decision or foundation on that.
I mean,
So-
and then like run over to probes.
Yeah, we'll have time.
Okay.
Because the dollar amount doesn't change, it's how it gets, so I think if we, so remember, it's third,
Uh-huh.
status quo, quarter, or quarter, 50%.
So I think also the thing is they're not voting the budget out on Tuesday. This is a policy change. And it sounds like GovOps is devolving this policy change or the discussions about the higher trust fund to us.
Okay, so we better,
So I think we should like invite witnesses maybe and like spend some time on it.
yeah, it's funny, it's a little bit of a.
This is a big deal.
Well,
It's a big deal.
what are you talking about?
I don't know, because like understanding the higher trust fund and what we'd be doing right now. Like, do we have that authority? And this is a big decision. Does appropriations care that we're making this decision?
Well, we're not making, because we're making recommendation to appropriations,
Okay,
because they're the ones who would have to change the budget language.
okay.
This is about, so we're talking this year, I think we're talking about,
But this is a permanent change, right?
yes, permanent change. And we're talking about an impact of about $250,000 on an institution if you make this payment.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But I guess like someone just clear it that
Yeah.
they want this from us and that we have the authority to make this recommendation.
All right, okay, I think we do. We have the authority to make recommendations.
Okay.